Yo, what's up, America? It's 2024, and we're staring down the barrel of the most insane election this country has ever seen. This isn't just another election year, it's a pivotal moment in our history. The stakes have never been higher, and the atmosphere is electric. People from all walks of life are coming together, united by a common purpose, to make their voices heard. Forget everything you think you know about politics, because this ain't your grandma's election. The world's watching, folks. They're placing bets, holding their breath, and wondering if the land of the free is going to trip over its own shoelaces and faceplant into oblivion. This year, the political landscape is more polarized than ever. Social media is buzzing with debates, memes, and hashtags. People are more informed, more engaged, and more passionate about their beliefs. It's a time of great uncertainty, but also a time of great potential. The choices we make now will shape the future of our nation for generations to come. The candidates are pulling out all the stops, using every tool at their disposal to sway voters. From viral videos to grassroots campaigns, they're leaving no stone unturned. And the voters? They're more diverse and more vocal than ever before. Young people, minorities, and first-time voters are stepping up, determined to make a difference. The world is watching with bated breath. International news outlets are covering every twist and turn, analyzing every speech and every tweet. People around the globe are invested in the outcome, knowing that the results will have far-reaching implications. The future of democracy itself hangs in the balance. The stakes couldn't be higher. This election isn't just about choosing a leader, it's about defining our values and our vision for the future. Are we going to uphold the principles of democracy, or are we going to let them slip away? Are we going to come together as a nation, or are we going to let our divisions tear us apart? Okay, maybe that's a tad dramatic, but you get the point. This election is a big freaking deal. The energy is palpable and the tension is mounting. People are passionate and emotions are running high. It's a time of great uncertainty, but also a time of great hope. We have the power to shape our future, and that power is in our hands. We're talking about the soul of a nation here, people. This is about more than just politics. It's about who we are and who we want to be. It's about our values, our principles, and our vision for the future. Are we going to stick with the status quo, or are we going to shake things up? Are we going to play it safe, or are we going to roll the dice? The choices we make now will have a profound impact on our future. This isn't just about picking a president, it's about choosing the direction of the country for the next 4 years. And let's be real, after the dumpster fire that was 2020, we could all use a win. We've been through a lot, and we're ready for a change. This election is a chance to make our voices heard, to stand up for what we believe in, and to shape the future of our nation. It's a chance to come together, to find common ground, and to work towards a better future. So grab your popcorn, America, because this is going to be one hell of a show. The road ahead won't be easy. There will be challenges, setbacks, and obstacles to overcome. But we have the power to make a difference. We have the power to shape our future. And that power is in our hands. So let's make the most of it. Let's come together, let's stand up for what we believe in, and let's make our voices heard. We've been through tough times before, and we've come out stronger on the other side. We've faced challenges, and we've overcome them. We've been tested, and we've proven our resilience. This election is another test, another challenge, and another opportunity to show what we're made of. So let's rise to the occasion. Let's embrace the challenge, and let's make our voices heard. This is our moment, our opportunity, and our time to shine. So grab your popcorn, America, because this is going to be one hell of a show. And remember, the future is in our hands. Let's make it a future we can be proud of. This ain't just about red versus blue, folks. It's about the issues that hit us where it hurts. Our wallets, our healthcare, our planet, and our future. We're talking about the economy, stupid. Will your job still be there in 4 years? Will you be able to afford rent, groceries, or even a decent cup of coffee? And don't even get me started on healthcare. Will you be able to afford to get sick? Will your grandma finally get the prescription drugs she needs without having to choose between her medication and her heating bill? These are the questions that keep regular people up at night. Then there's the whole climate change thing. Are we going to leave a habitable planet for our kids? Or are we going to hand them a scorched wasteland and a one-way ticket to Mars? And let's not forget about social justice. Will everyone finally have an equal shot at the American dream, regardless of their skin color, religion, or who they love? Yeah, the stakes are high, my friends. This election is about more than just picking a president. It's about choosing what kind of country we want to live in. First up, we've got the man, the myth, the MAGA hat himself, Donald J. Trump. Love him or hate him, you gotta admit. The dude knows how to put on a show. He's like a bull in a china shop. Except the china shop is Washington, D.C., and the bull tweets insults at 3 a.m. He's back, baby. After that whole impeachment thing and losing the popular vote, twice, you'd think he'd slither away to Mar-a-Lago and spend his days perfecting his golf swing. But nope, not Trump. He's like a bad penny. He just keeps turning up. He's promising to make America great again, whatever that means. He's going to build that wall, drain the swamp, and bring back coal jobs, even if it kills us all. He's still got his diehard supporters, the ones who wear his face on their t-shirts and think he's the second coming of Reagan. But can he really win again? Can he convince enough Americans that he's the answer to their problems, despite all the chaos and controversy of his first term? In the other corner, we've got the former district attorney of San Francisco, the former attorney general of California, the former United States senator from California, and the 49th and current vice president of the United States, Kamala Devi Harris. She's smart, she's tough, and she's breaking barriers left and right. She's the first female vice president, the highest-ranking female official in U.S. history, and the first African-American and first Asian-American vice president. Her supporters see her as a symbol of hope and progress, a beacon of light in these dark times. They believe she's the one to heal the divisions in this country and bring us all together. But her critics, they call her the Dragon Lady. They say she's too ambitious, too calculating, too willing to play the game to get what she wants. They point to her record as a prosecutor, claiming she's too tough on crime and not tough enough on police brutality. So, can she overcome the doubters and convince America that she's the best person for the job? Can she live up to the hype and become the first female president of the United States? This ain't gonna be a debate, folks. It's gonna be a brawl. Imagine a verbal boxing match between Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali, except instead of punches, they're throwing insults, policy proposals, and maybe even a few Twitter rants. Trump's gonna come out swinging, throwing everything he's got at Harris. He'll call her nasty, phony, and every other insult in his arsenal. He'll try to bait her into losing her cool, hoping for a repeat of her "that little girl was me" moment. But Harris ain't gonna back down. She's gonna come prepared with facts, figures, and a whole lot of sass. She'll call out his lies, his hypocrisy, and his complete disregard for the truth. This is gonna be a battle for the soul of America, and neither candidate is gonna give an inch.
The stage is set, the players are ready, and the game is on. This is gonna be the political showdown of the century, a clash of titans that will determine the fate of the free world, or at least that's what the media will have you believe. Will Trump ride his wave of populism back to the White House? Or will Harris make history as the first female president? Buckle up, Buttercup, because this is going to be one wild ride. Stick around, because in the next hour we're going to break down this election piece by piece. We'll dive deep into the issues, the candidates' records, and the key battleground states that will decide who wins it all. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and smash the notification bell so you don't miss a single juicy detail. Let's do this.
All right, folks, let's get down to brass tacks. What are these two actually promising to do for your wallets? First up, the economy. It's always a hot topic, especially when you're trying to decide between ramen noodles for dinner or that avocado toast everyone's raving about. Trump, he's all about that trickle-down economics thing. Cut taxes for the wealthy, and the benefits will magically trickle down to the rest of us. He claims his policies led to the lowest unemployment rates in history, especially for minorities. But critics say those numbers were already trending that way before he took office, and his trade wars actually hurt more than they helped. Harris, on the other hand, is pushing for a more progressive approach. Think higher minimum wage, stronger unions, and tax breaks for the middle class. She wants to invest in infrastructure, green energy, and education. Basically, anything that creates jobs and boosts the economy from the bottom up. So who's got the right idea? Well, that's up for you to decide, America. But one thing's for sure, the economy is going to be a major battleground in this election.
Let's talk about taxes, baby. Trump, he loves a good tax cut, especially if it benefits him and his billionaire buddies. Remember that massive tax bill he signed back in 2017? Yeah, that mostly benefited corporations and the wealthy, while leaving crumbs for the rest of us. Harris, she's singing a different tune. She wants to raise taxes on the wealthy and corporations to fund her progressive agenda. Think free college, universal pre-K, and expanded health care. She argues that the wealthy can afford to pay their fair share, and it's time they start contributing more to society. Of course, Trump and his supporters scream socialism at the mere mention of raising taxes. They claim it'll kill jobs, stifle innovation, and turn America into some kind of communist dystopia. But Harris argues that investing in people is the best way to grow the economy and create a more just and equitable society. So, will you be paying more or less in taxes, depending on who wins in 2024? It's a question that's sure to be on the minds of voters as they head to the polls.
Ah, healthcare. The one topic that can make even the most level-headed person lose their cool. It's a subject that touches every single American, from the youngest child to the oldest senior. The debate over healthcare is not just about policy, it's about people's lives, their well-being, and their financial security. Trump, he spent his entire first term trying to dismantle Obamacare, also known as the Affordable Care Act. His administration viewed it as a symbol of government overreach and inefficiency. The Affordable Care Act, signed into law by President Obama in 2010, aimed to make healthcare more accessible and affordable for millions of Americans. It introduced measures like the individual mandate, which required everyone to have health insurance or face a penalty, and expanded Medicaid to cover more low-income individuals. He called it a disaster, a job killer, and a total and complete disaster. His rhetoric was often fiery and filled with promises to repeal and replace the law with something better. But what exactly did he mean by better? For many, the details were vague, and the proposed alternatives often seemed to fall short of providing the same level of coverage and protection. But despite his best efforts, he couldn't quite manage to repeal and replace it. The attempts to dismantle Obamacare faced significant opposition, not just from Democrats, but also from within his own party. The complexity of the healthcare system and the potential consequences of repealing the law without a solid replacement plan made many lawmakers hesitant. The public outcry was also significant, with many Americans fearing the loss of their healthcare coverage. Go figure. He did, however, manage to weaken it, making it harder for people to get coverage and driving up costs. Thanks, Obama, the removal of the individual mandate penalty, for instance, led to fewer healthy individuals purchasing insurance, which in turn drove up premiums for those who remained in the market. Other administrative actions aimed at reducing subsidies and cutting funding for outreach and enrollment efforts further eroded the effectiveness of the ACA. Harris, on the other hand, is a strong supporter of Obamacare. She believes in the foundational principles of the ACA and sees it as a stepping stone towards more comprehensive healthcare reform. Her stance is that while the ACA has its flaws, it has also provided millions of Americans with access to healthcare that they previously didn't have. She wants to build on it, not bulldoze it. Harris advocates for strengthening the ACA by addressing its weaknesses, such as high premiums and out-of-pocket costs, and expanding its reach to cover more people. She believes that with the right adjustments, the ACA can serve as a robust framework for achieving universal health care. She's also open to more progressive ideas, like Medicare for All, which would provide government-funded health care for everyone. The concept of Medicare for All has gained significant traction in recent years, especially among progressive Democrats. It proposes a single-payer system where the government would cover all healthcare costs, eliminating the need for private insurance. Proponents argue that this would simplify the healthcare system, reduce administrative costs, and ensure that no one is left without coverage. Of course, that idea sends chills down the spines of Republicans and insurance industry lobbyists. They argue that such a system would be prohibitively expensive and would lead to increased taxes and government control over healthcare. The insurance industry in particular stands to lose a significant portion of its business under a single-payer system, which is why they have been some of the most vocal opponents of Medicare for All. They claim it's too expensive, too radical, and too socialist. The term socialist is often used as a pejorative in American political discourse, and opponents of Medicare for All use it to evoke fears of government overreach and loss of individual freedoms. They argue that a single-payer system would stifle innovation, reduce the quality of care, and lead to long wait times for medical services. But supporters argue that it's the only way to ensure that everyone has access to affordable, quality healthcare. They point to other developed nations with single-payer systems, such as Canada and the United Kingdom, where healthcare is considered a right and not a privilege. These countries often have better health outcomes and lower per capita healthcare costs compared to the United States. So, will we finally achieve universal healthcare in America? The debate continues, with passionate arguments on both sides. Some believe that incremental changes to the existing system are the best way forward, while others argue that a complete overhaul is necessary to address the deep-rooted issues in the American healthcare system. Or will we continue to be the only developed nation without it? The United States stands out among developed nations for its lack of universal health care. This has led to significant disparities in access to care and health outcomes, with many Americans facing financial ruin due to medical expenses. The question remains whether the political will exists to make the necessary changes to achieve universal coverage. Stay tuned, folks, because this healthcare debate is far from over. As the political landscape continues to evolve, so too will the discussions around healthcare. New proposals and ideas will emerge, and the American people will have to decide what kind of healthcare system they want for the future. One thing is certain, the fight for coverage is a battle that will shape the nation's health and well-being for generations to come. Immigration. It's a topic that's been dividing America for decades, and it's only gotten more heated in recent years. The debate over immigration is not just a political issue, it's a deeply emotional and moral one that touches on the very essence of what it means to be American. From the early days of Ellis Island to the modern-day border crisis, the United States has always been a nation of immigrants. Yet the question of how to manage immigration has never been more contentious. Trump, he made immigration a cornerstone of his presidency, promising to build a big, beautiful wall and make Mexico pay for it. His rhetoric was bold and unyielding, capturing the attention of millions who felt that the country was losing control of its borders. The wall became a symbol of his administration's hardline stance on immigration, a physical manifestation of the desire to protect American jobs, security, and culture from what he described as an influx of illegal immigrants. Spoiler alert. Mexico didn't pay for it. He also implemented a zero-tolerance policy at the border, separating families and locking children in cages. This policy was met with widespread condemnation, both domestically and internationally. Images of crying children being taken from their parents and held in detention centers sparked outrage and protests across the country. Critics argued that the policy was inhumane and un-American, a stark departure from the values of compassion and family unity that the nation prides itself on. Remember that? Yeah, not exactly a shining moment for American values. The backlash was swift and fierce, with activists, politicians, and everyday citizens calling for an end to the family separation policy. The administration eventually reversed the policy, but the damage had been done. The images of children in cages became a powerful symbol of the cruelty and divisiveness of the Trump administration's immigration policies. Harris, she's taken a much more humane approach, calling for comprehensive immigration reform that provides a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. Her vision for immigration is rooted in empathy and practicality, recognizing the contributions that immigrants make to the country and the need for a fair and just system. She advocates for policies that keep families together, protect the rights of asylum seekers, and address the root causes of migration, such as violence and poverty in home countries. She wants to keep families together, treat asylum seekers with dignity, and address the root causes of migration. Harris believes that a humane and effective immigration system is not only a moral imperative, but also a practical necessity for the nation's economic and social well-being. Her approach emphasizes collaboration with other countries, investment in foreign aid, and the creation of legal pathways for migration. But Trump and his supporters argue that Harris is weak on immigration, that her policies would only encourage more illegal immigration, and that we need to secure the border at all costs. They believe that a strong and secure border is essential to protecting American sovereignty and preventing crime and terrorism. For them, the wall is not just a physical barrier, but a symbol of the nation's resolve to control its borders and enforce its laws. They paint a picture of a country overrun by criminals and terrorists if we don't crack down on immigration. This narrative has been fueled by sensationalist media coverage and political rhetoric that often exaggerates the threats posed by immigrants. While there are legitimate concerns about border security and the need for effective immigration enforcement, the portrayal of immigrants as a monolithic group of criminals and terrorists is misleading and harmful. So, will America continue to build walls or build bridges? The choice between these two paths is not just a policy decision, but a reflection of the nation's values and identity. Building walls represents a retreat into fear and isolation, a rejection of the principles of openness and inclusivity that have defined the American experiment. Building bridges, on the other hand, signifies a commitment to empathy, cooperation, and the belief that diversity is a strength rather than a threat. Will we prioritize compassion or fear? The answer to this question will shape the future of the country and the lives of millions of people. Compassion calls for policies that recognize the humanity and dignity of all individuals, regardless of their immigration status. It means creating a system that is fair, just, and humane, one that provides opportunities for people to contribute to society and build better lives for themselves and their families. The answer will have a profound impact on the lives of millions of people and the character of our nation. The immigration debate is not just about numbers and policies. It's about the kind of country we want to be. Will we be a nation that welcomes the stranger, that offers refuge to those in need, and that values the contributions of immigrants? Or will we be a nation that turns inward, that builds walls and closes doors, and that allows fear and prejudice to dictate our policies. The choice is ours, and the stakes could not be higher.
Alright folks, let's get granular. We've talked policies, we've dissected personalities, but now it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty, the electoral map. This ain't about who gets the most votes overall, remember? It's about who wins the electoral college, and that means winning states. And think of it like a political game of Risk, except instead of conquering continents, you're conquering states. And just like in Risk, some territories are more valuable than others. We're talking about the battleground states, those swing states that could go either way. These are the states that keep campaign managers up at night, the states that get bombarded with political ads, the states where every single vote could be the difference between victory and defeat. So, grab your maps, kids, and let's dive into the electoral battlefield.
Each election cycle, a handful of states emerge as the ultimate deciders. These are the battlegrounds, the arenas where the political gladiators duke it out for every inch of ground. It's not about those states painted reliably red or blue. We're looking at the ones with a splash of purple. The ones where the electorate is as unpredictable as a cat in a room full of rocking chairs. These are the states that will dominate the headlines, the ones where candidates will spend the most time and money, the ones where every rally, every gaffe, every tweet could tip the scales. Forget national polls, folks. In these battlegrounds, it's all about local issues, micro-targeting, and getting your base fired up to vote. So, buckle up, because we're about to embark on a whirlwind tour of these electoral battlegrounds, analyzing the demographics, the historical trends, and the key factors that will determine who wins each state, and ultimately, who takes the White House.
Swing State Showdown. First up, the Sunshine State, the land of oranges, alligators, and enough retirees to form their own political party. Florida, with its 29 electoral votes, is the big kahuna of battleground states. It's a melting pot of demographics, with a large Hispanic population, a significant senior citizen community, and a mix of urban and rural areas. Historically, Florida has been as unpredictable as a hurricane season. It's gone red, it's gone blue, and sometimes it's even gone hanging Chad. Trump narrowly won it in 2016, but can he repeat that feat in 2024? Harris will be hoping to mobilize the state's growing Hispanic and younger voters, while Trump will be banking on his base of older white voters, particularly in the more rural parts of the state. The race in Florida is always a nail-biter, and 2024 promises to be no different.
Next, we head north to the Keystone State, home of cheesesteaks, the Liberty Bell, and a whole lot of electoral importance. Pennsylvania, with its 20 electoral votes, is another perennial battleground. It's a state of contrasts, with major cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but also vast rural areas. Trump flipped Pennsylvania in 2016, breaking a long streak of Democratic wins. Can he do it again? Harris will need to win back those working-class voters who swung for Trump last time, while also energizing the Democratic base in Philadelphia and its suburbs. The economy, healthcare, and trade are all major issues in Pennsylvania, and how those issues play out will likely determine who wins the state. Keep your eyes on the prize, folks, because as Pennsylvania goes, so often goes the nation. Next up, we're heading to the Wolverine State, known for its automobile industry, its beautiful lakes, and its history of close elections. Michigan, with its 16 electoral votes, is another state that narrowly went for Trump in 2016 after decades of voting blue. The loss still stings for Democrats, and they'll be pulling out all the stops to win it back in 2024. Harris will need to connect with working-class voters in the state's struggling manufacturing towns, while also turning out the vote in Democratic strongholds like Detroit and Ann Arbor. Trump, on the other hand, will try to recreate his 2016 magic, appealing to voters who feel left behind by the economic and social changes of the past few decades. Michigan is a true toss-up, folks, and its 16 electoral votes could be crucial in deciding the next president. Hold on to your cheeseheads, because we're about to enter the land of dairy farms, the Green Bay Packers, and some of the most politically charged cheese curds you'll ever encounter. Wisconsin, with its 10 electoral votes, has become synonymous with close elections. Trump's narrow victory there in 2016 sent shockwaves through the political establishment, and both parties will be fighting tooth and nail for every vote in 2024. Harris will need to win back those suburban voters who flipped to Trump last time, while also energizing the Democratic base in Milwaukee and Madison. Trump, meanwhile, will hope to capitalize on his populist message and his promises to bring back manufacturing jobs to the state. Wisconsin is a true wild card, folks, and its 10 electoral votes could be the deciding factor in this election. Next, we're heading west to the Grand Canyon State, known for its stunning desert landscapes, its growing Latino population, and its recent shift towards the political center. Arizona, with its 11 electoral votes, has long been considered a Republican stronghold, but it's been trending purple in recent years. Trump won it by a slim margin in 2016, but the state's changing demographics, coupled with growing dissatisfaction with Trump among some moderate Republicans, make it a prime target for Democrats in 2024. Harris will need to mobilize the state's growing Latino electorate and appeal to suburban voters who are turned off by Trump's divisive rhetoric. Trump, meanwhile, will try to rally his base and paint Harris as too liberal for Arizona. The race in Arizona is shaping up to be a real barn burner, folks, and its 11 electoral votes could be crucial in deciding who wins the White House. Hold on to your peaches, folks, because we're heading south to the Peach State, a land of sweet tea, southern hospitality, and a rapidly changing electorate. Georgia, with its 16 electoral votes, has been a reliably red state for decades, but it's been inching closer and closer to purple in recent years. The state's growing African-American population, coupled with an influx of young and diverse voters, has made it a top target for Democrats in 2024. Harris will need to energize the Democratic base in Atlanta and its suburbs, while also appealing to moderate and independent voters who are looking for an alternative to Trump. Trump, meanwhile, will try to rally his base and paint Harris as too radical for Georgia. The race in Georgia is shaping up to be one of the most closely watched in the country, and its 16 electoral votes could be the deciding factor in this election. Next, we're heading to the Tar Heel State, known for its beautiful beaches, its prestigious research universities, and its history of close elections. North Carolina, with its 15 electoral votes, is another state that has been trending purple in recent years. Trump narrowly won it in 2016, but the state's growing urban areas and its increasing diversity make it a prime target for Democrats in 2024. Harris will need to mobilize the Democratic base in cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, while also appealing to moderate and independent voters who are looking for a change. Trump, meanwhile, will try to rally his base and paint Harris as too liberal for North Carolina. The race in North Carolina is shaping up to be another nail-biter, folks, and its 15 electoral votes could be crucial in deciding who wins the White House. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're heading to the Silver State, known for its glitzy casinos, its vast desert landscapes, and its history of political surprises. Nevada, with its 6 electoral votes, has been a swing state for years, swinging back and forth between Democrats and Republicans. Clinton narrowly won it in 2016, but the state's large Latino population and its growing union presence make it a prime target for both parties in 2024. Harris will need to mobilize the Latino vote and turn out union members, while Trump will try to appeal to the state's independent voters and those who are drawn to his populist message. Nevada is a true wildcard, folks, and its 6 electoral votes could be crucial in a close election. So, we've explored the battlegrounds, those states teetering on the edge of a political knife fight. But how does it all add up? Imagine the electoral map as a giant canvas, and each state a brushstroke. Republicans, they're working with a palette of red, while Democrats are armed with shades of blue. But here's the kicker. It's not about who covers the most canvas. It's about who strategically claims those key states, those electoral vote powerhouses. Right now, both Trump and Harris have a path to victory. But it's a narrow, winding road, and one wrong turn could send them careening off the cliff of defeat. This is where things get really interesting, folks. We're talking about nail-biting finishes, potential recounts, and maybe even a few legal challenges thrown in for good measure. Hang tight because this electoral roller coaster is just getting started. Now, I know what you're thinking. Just tell us who's going to win already. But if this was as simple as plugging numbers into a magic political calculator, I'd be sipping margaritas on a beach somewhere instead of talking to you lovely people. The truth is, predicting elections is a messy business. Polls can be wrong, voters can be fickle, and sometimes a giant meteor can threaten to wipe out humanity, throwing the entire election into chaos. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the point. While we can analyze the demographics, dissect the polls, and game out different scenarios until our heads spin, ultimately, the only poll that matters is the one on Election Day. So stay tuned, folks, because in the next act, we'll dive into the X factors that could make or break each candidate's chances. We're talking about media narratives, October surprises, and those unpredictable moments that can turn an election on its head. All right, folks, buckle up, because we're entering the realm of political voodoo, where logic and reason often get tossed out the window faster than a Trump tweet about a rigged election. Forget policy papers and carefully crafted speeches. In this arena, it's all about the intangibles, those X factors that can make or break a campaign. We're talking about the power of personality, the influence of the media, and those unpredictable events that can throw even the most well-oiled campaign into a tailspin. It's the stuff that keeps political strategists up at night, chugging antacids and pulling their hair out. Remember, elections aren't just about who has the best ideas or the most experience. They're about who can capture the hearts, minds, and sometimes the gut instincts of the American people. So, let's dive into the murky waters of these X factors and see how Trump and Harris stack up. In the age of 24/7 news cycles and social media echo chambers, the media landscape has become a chaotic battlefield, littered with misinformation, spin, and enough hot takes to melt your brain. It's a game of narratives where perception often trumps reality, and where a well-placed soundbite or a viral video can have more impact than a 1,000-word policy paper. Both Trump and Harris understand the power of the media, but they play the game in vastly different ways. Trump, he's the undisputed king of the media circus, a master manipulator who thrives on attention, controversy, and dominating the news cycle. Harris, on the other hand, faces a different set of challenges. She's got to navigate the treacherous waters of being a woman, a person of color, and a trailblazer in a media environment that's often hostile to those who don't fit the traditional mold. So let's break down their media strategies and see how they stack up. Trump, he's a media savant, a master of manipulating the news cycle and grabbing headlines like a kid in a candy store. He's a walking, talking soundbite machine, spewing out outrageous statements, personal attacks, and blatant lies with such confidence and swagger that it's hard to know whether to be appalled or impressed. He's weaponized Twitter like no politician before him, using it to bypass traditional media outlets, control the narrative, and connect directly with his base. He's a master of distraction, always ready to throw a shiny object or a nasty tweet into the mix to divert attention from his scandals, his failures, and his utter lack of policy substance. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that Trump understands the power of spectacle, of creating a constant state of drama and chaos that keeps the media and the public constantly engaged, even if it's just to shake their heads in disbelief. Harris, she faces a much tougher media landscape than Trump. She's got to navigate the treacherous terrain of being a woman in politics, where every word, every gesture, every outfit is scrutinized and analyzed to death. And as a woman of color, she's held to a different standard, expected to be twice as good as her white male counterparts, while also facing implicit bias, racist tropes, and the constant threat of being labeled angry or too ambitious. She's also got to walk a tightrope of representation, appealing to a diverse Democratic base that includes progressives, moderates, people of color, young voters, and women, all while trying to win over those elusive swing voters who will ultimately decide the election. It's a delicate balancing act, and one that's made even more difficult by a media environment that's often more interested in conflict and controversy than in substantive policy discussions. Here's the thing about elections, folks. Sometimes it all boils down to gut feeling. Do you like this person? Do you trust them? Would you want to have a beer with them? Okay, maybe not a beer with Trump, unless you're into Diet Coke and ranting about fake news, but you get the point. Likability matters. It's that intangible quality that makes voters connect with a candidate on a personal level, that makes them feel like the candidate understands their struggles, shares their values, and has their best interests at heart. Trump, he's a polarizing figure, loved by his base, loathed by his detractors, and viewed with a mixture of amusement and bewilderment by everyone in between. Harris, she's still defining herself on the national stage, trying to connect with voters on a personal level and convince them that she's more than just a politician. Trump, he's been called the Teflon Don, a man who seems impervious to scandal, controversy, and even impeachment. He's weathered storms that would have sunk any other politician, emerging from the wreckage seemingly unscathed, his base still loyal, his ego still inflated. But the question is, can he pull it off again? After 4 years of chaos, incompetence, and blatant disregard for the rule of law, are voters ready for more? Or has the Teflon finally worn off, leaving him vulnerable to the mounting pile of scandals, investigations, and just plain exhaustion with his act? Only time will tell if the Teflon Don can once again defy gravity, or if he's finally met his match in the form of voter fatigue and a yearning for a return to normalcy. Harris, she's got the brains, she's got the experience, she's got the charisma, but can she connect with the average American voter? Can she convince those struggling to make ends meet, those worried about their health care, those concerned about the future of their children, that she understands their struggles and will fight for them? She's got to overcome the perception that she's too polished, too cautious, too much of a creature of Washington. She needs to show voters her human side, her empathy, her passion for fighting for a more just and equitable society. It's a challenge that many female politicians face, having to strike a balance between competence and likability, between being taken seriously and being relatable. Can Harris find that sweet spot and win over the hearts and minds of the American people? That's the million-dollar question. All right, folks, let's talk strategy. Winning an election isn't just about having the most popular message or the best hair. It's about building a winning coalition, mobilizing your base, and getting your voters to the polls. It's about out-organizing, out-fundraising, and outsmarting your opponent at every turn. Trump, he's a master of the big rally, the fiery speech, the emotional appeal to his base. He's got a knack for tapping into the anger, the resentment, and the anxieties of a certain segment of the population. Harris, she's got to play a different game. She needs to build a broader coalition, bringing together progressives, moderates, independents, and disaffected Republicans who have had enough of Trump's chaos. It's a battle for the hearts and minds of America, and both candidates are bringing their A-game. Trump, he thrives on the energy of the crowd, the adoration of his followers, the feeling of being back at the helm of a movement. He's a showman at heart, and his campaign rallies are part political event, part rock concert, part revival meeting. He's a master of the grievance narrative, painting himself as the victim, the outsider, fighting against a corrupt establishment, the only one who can drain the swamp and restore America to its former glory. He's counting on his base, those die-hard supporters who will crawl over broken glass to vote for him, to carry him to victory once again. He's hoping for a red wave, a surge of Republican enthusiasm that will sweep him back into the White House. Harris, she's taking a more traditional approach, focusing on building a strong ground game, mobilizing volunteers, and reaching out to voters in key demographics. She's holding town halls, attending community events, and knocking on doors, trying to connect with voters on a personal level. She's building a coalition of hope, bringing together people from all walks of life who are united by a desire for change, a belief in progress, and a commitment to building a more just and equitable society. She's counting on a surge in voter turnout, particularly among young people, people of color, and women, to propel her to victory. It's a battle between two very different visions for America, and the outcome will depend on which candidate can mobilize their base and persuade enough undecided voters to join their cause. Here's the thing about elections, folks. Just when you think you've got it all figured out, some crazy, unpredictable event throws a wrench into the works. Remember the Comey letter in 2016? Yeah, nobody saw that coming. These October surprises, those unexpected events that pop up in the final weeks of a campaign, can have a seismic impact on the race, shifting momentum, upending narratives, and leaving voters scrambling to reassess their choices. It could be a scandal, a gaffe, a terrorist attack, a natural disaster, or even just a really juicy meme that goes viral. The point is, in the world of politics, the only constant is chaos, and anything can happen. So, there you have it, folks. The stage is set, the players are in position, and the countdown to Election Day has begun. The 2024 election is shaping up to be a clash of titans, a battle for the soul of America. On one side, we have Donald Trump, the incumbent, the showman, the master of chaos, promising to make America great again. On the other side, we have Kamala Harris, the challenger, the trailblazer, the voice of change, promising to heal the divisions, restore the soul of the nation, and build a more perfect union. It's a choice between two vastly different visions for the future of America. Will it be 4 more years of Trump's chaos? Or will America choose change? Will experience Trump hope, or will the promise of a new direction be enough to sway voters? The answer, my friends, is in your hands. Get out there and vote like your future depends on it, because it just might. So, there you have it, folks. We've dissected the policies, analyzed the battlegrounds, and explored the X factors that could make or break this election. But now, the million-dollar question, who's going to win this thing? Honestly, trying to predict the outcome of a U.S. presidential election is like trying to predict which Kardashian will launch a new skincare line next. It's a fool's game, fraught with uncertainty, and likely to leave you with a bad taste in your mouth. But hey, that's never stopped us before. So let's put on our prognostication hats, channel our inner Nate Silver, and dive into the murky waters of election forecasting. Just remember, folks, these are just educated guesses, based on the information we have now. A lot can change between now and November, and in the world of politics, the only guarantee is that there are no guarantees. Let's start with the incumbent, the man who's already defied the odds once before. Trump, he's got a few things going for him. First off, incumbency is a powerful thing. He's got the name recognition, the bully pulpit, and the ability to tout his alleged accomplishments over the past 4 years. Second, he's got a loyal base of supporters who love his brash style, his no-holds-barred rhetoric, and his willingness to say what they're thinking, or at least what they think they're thinking. These are the folks who show up at his rallies, wear the MAGA hats, and believe he's the only one who can make America great again. But here's the rub: Trump's approval ratings have been consistently low throughout his presidency, and he's facing a deeply divided electorate. He's alienated independents, suburban women, and even some moderate Republicans with his chaotic governing style, his divisive rhetoric, and his seemingly endless scandals. Now let's turn our attention to the challenger, the woman who could make history as the first female president of the United States. Harris, she's got a lot going for her. She's smart, she's experienced, she's a gifted speaker, and she represents a demographic shift in American politics. She's also running on a message of unity, hope, and a return to normalcy after 4 years of Trumpian chaos. But she's also facing an uphill battle. She's got to energize a Democratic base that's still reeling from the 2016 election, while also winning over swing voters who may be wary of her progressive policies. She's also got to overcome the sexism and racism that's still all too prevalent in American society, as well as the inevitable attacks from the Trump campaign, which are likely to be vicious, personal, and rooted in fear and division. So who's going to win? Honestly, folks, it's too close to call. This election is going to be a nail-biter, a down-to-the-wire fight that could go either way. It's going to come down to turnout, to which candidate can motivate their base and persuade those elusive swing voters to cast their ballots. It's going to come down to the battleground states, those electoral vote-rich prizes that will ultimately decide the election. And it's going to come down to those unpredictable X factors, those unexpected events that can upend even the most carefully crafted campaign strategy. The only thing we know for sure is that this election will have profound consequences for America's future. The stakes have never been higher, the choices have never been clearer, and the outcome will reverberate for generations to come. Now, before you click away to watch some cat videos or argue with strangers on Twitter, let's take a moment to remember something important. Your vote matters. In a democracy, the power ultimately resides with the people, and every single vote carries weight. Don't let anyone tell you that your vote doesn't matter, that the system is rigged, or that your voice doesn't count. Because it does. Every vote is a brick in the foundation of our democracy, and the more people who participate, the stronger that foundation becomes. So register to vote, make a plan to vote, and then grab your friends, your family, your neighbors, and even that weird guy who lives down the hall and smells like cabbage, and get them to vote too. Because in the end, the future of America is not up to the politicians, it's up to us, the people. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. But before we go, we really want to hear from you. Who do you think will win the 2024 election and why? Are you Team Trump or Team Harris? Or are you still on the fence trying to decide between the lesser of two evils? Sound off in the comments below, and let's get this political debate started. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of our future political breakdowns, rants, and general tomfoolery. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly,